Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving you a look at that current Doppler radar picture across North Florida and South Georgia. You can see the temperatures here right now, mainly in the 60s in many spots. Some refreshing air again. I know last night we got pretty cool relatively here across our region in some of those more rural spots, especially I know where we're at here east of Stark in Bradford County, north central Florida, got down to 60 degrees. So that was really nice. 66 degrees right now, looking at my current temperature reading here, but you kind of get the idea. Things have been a little bit nicer. I know fall's coming toward the weekend here as we're looking at that calendar, but actually, unfortunately, we're going to have, if you guys like the cool air, we're going to have some more moisture, unfortunately, come into the picture here, and things are going to feel a little bit warmer, but also be a little bit wetter here for some of us, as I was alluding to in the descriptions. You don't see much on the radar right now. In our area, we had some warnings active in South Florida, some severe thunderstorm warnings today, central to South Florida. As you're looking, you see some moisture down there. We're going to have an area of low pressure that we're going to have to monitor to some degree. Not enough for me to turn the logo red here. Honestly, I haven't typed too much at all about it. I don't think it's going to be a big deal here for our local area. Again, that's not really a big time issue for us overall in terms of me. I don't need to turn that logo red, but we'll continue to watch things here just in case. Could be a little bit more organized if it kind of gets its act together and heads toward the Carolinas. So that's something to kind of watch here. I know as I look at some different things in the Weather Center, just kind of interesting to keep that in mind as we're checking here to see if there's any questions or comments earlier on in this stream. I don't see anything, but just again, thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks so much for trusting me here early on this Wednesday morning now. I know just looking over some different things, the tropical outlook from the National Hurricane Center in Miami saying that there will be a non-tropical or low pressure that's expected to form here east of the Florida Peninsula late this week, and the system could acquire some subtropical characteristics are staying here this weekend while it moves generally northward, regardless of development even before that weekend period, though, especially for us. This low is likely to bring some gusty winds, heavy rain, and high surf to ports in the southeast and mid-Atlantic U.S. there late this week, into the weekend. Again, watch out for some rip currents, things like that here at the Atlantic coast beaches. You just got to be really careful in regards to those. So just something to kind of bear in mind as we're looking at things here in the Weather Center as we kind of just look across the region here in general. And let's go ahead now, though, and put up the graphics. I'll go ahead and pull those up. And you can see here, looking at our tropical climatology, that kind of tells a story as we're just looking at that here and some of the different things that go along with that here in the Weather Center right now. You see, right now we're on the 20th of September, so a little bit past that peak, so that's good at least. And nothing of real big concern right now, so that's what we like to hear after what we dealt with today now, marking 3 weeks since the Dahlia made landfall. Kind of hard to believe it's been 21 days or so now as we're looking since the Dahlia hit the areas of Dixie and Taylor counties. We have some information regarding that, which I'll get to in a moment as well in the aftermath. But let's go ahead and talk about the storm names. We've checked off Lee. That was something we had a stream going over toward the weekend. Having some impact in New England. Did have a scenario where it did turn deadly, unfortunately, toward Maine, apparently, based on some media reports. A tree falling there, and those winds acting more like a nor'easter in general, but still can. It was deadly. As you see now, you have Nigel here. That's a hurricane, and we have Ophelia there that we'll be watching as we look further on out. So we'll see if that's what we have closer to home, or will it be Philippe. So we'll have to just kind of watch here in the Weather Center as we look ahead into the timeline. I know, looking at that tropical weather outlook right now, you can see here late Tuesday NHC update, a 30% chance of development there off the coast here as we're looking ahead. So not a huge chance, maybe a little higher than that it actually gets that together, maybe as it heads toward the Carolinas. But before it gets there, could give us some moisture here in the developmental phases, or some models have actually hinted here as early Saturday. Get one little maybe outline band from it or something. That'd be kind of interesting. The system with 70% might catch your eye because that's an area, well, we've had systems be problematic before for us, but right now indications are that would recur if that got its act together. We'll keep watching though. Nigel headed north, not an issue for us, so that's the good news. But let's go ahead and see here, Idalia here again, the aftermath of that, the Horseshoe Beach. Well, we had some new information come out Monday from the National Weather Service there in Tallahassee. Now, the full report will be out as we look ahead here later on toward the timeline. I know we'll be kind of seeing that here as we get into 2024. But what the National Weather Service in Tallahassee said was that we had a scenario here where the peak surge values observed there were in Dixie County and also in the word parts of Taylor County. There as we were looking down to Horseshoe Beach areas like where you're looking here. That vicinity had surge values within the range of 7 to 12 feet above normally dry ground apparently. So, and then lower values up to 6 feet above normally dry ground were noted south of Horseshoe Beach near the community of Swanee. So again, just something to kind of take into account. So, you know, it's pretty similar in some ways to the 1993 storm of the century. For some of these areas based on some interviews and some analysis. Still going to have to be confirmed by the official report, the after action type or post-analysis report there from the National Hurricane Center as they look at things. But just kind of looking at things here and reading about this, I know they're saying that it should be noted that if the storm made landfall really 6 hours later, it would have been the time of high tide. It was around the time of low tide here when it actually hit. If this would have made landfall, high tide could have been 3 or 4 feet higher, that surge here. So as bad as it was, based on the tide cycle, this is actually the best time for it to have hit in terms of that, to reduce the still very serious and devastating impact here. That impacted portions of our area. As you can see, of course, we still have to just keep looking out there toward Taylor County and Dixie County, Lafayette County, Levy County there, Madison County, Swanee County, Hamilton County, Jefferson County. I mean, you just kind of look Columbia County, Echols County, Lowndes County. I mean, keep going on and on here. Just the impact here, especially those closest to the coast in general. We've documented it quite a bit here. Just got to keep you guys in our thoughts and prayers. And as you rebuild here, some areas not getting hit as bad in that zone. Others worse. Some areas, I mean, outside of that zone even had some big consequences, even in the southeastern Georgia, Ware County, Pierce County, some issues to some degree. We had issues toward areas a little bit further west than that too. So just something you don't want to forget about there as we're looking toward some of our South Georgia counties as well. I know, not like what we saw Michael to the inland impact, but still, I'm talking about when we had that in Southwest Georgia in 2018, almost that 5th anniversary here, and as we're looking now. But still a big deal, I mean, with the impacts there. Next 7 days, that rainfall forecast kind of tells a story here in that, well, whatever we have subtropically maybe developing, a subtropical storm would get a name on that name list, by the way. I know you hear subtropical and you think, well, would that get a name? It would. Could become what we talked about, Ophelia there, as we're looking at things. So we'll just have to kind of look at the overall situation here. I know, just kind of wanting to make sure here that we're pronouncing all these right because they're a little bit tricky sometimes. But just trying to give you guys the latest here. As we're looking at everything, you can just see all that rainfall there. Further on off toward the east, there. And then if for some reason the other system gets the name first, and if this one were to get a name, it'd be Philippe here. So we'll see. But you can see a rainfall, not too big of a deal. Not going to impact those areas that were hit by the storm too much here with Idalia. You can see areas there toward the east coast. On average, next 7 days, about 1.5 inches or so. Here, as you're getting right there, the immediate coast, Jax Beach, St. Augustine Beach, Flagler Beach, maybe. It's not a huge deal. Of course, you can go to weather.com/radar for an interactive look at things when I'm not on the air. Some areas may not get much rain at all. Here you see more rain towards southeast Florida, South Florida here, and the Carolinas, maybe the Outer Banks if this were to organize. Maybe just something to watch. Myrtle Beach up to the Outer Banks for more issues if this were to get a name and get a little bit more organization with it. So we'll track it here. Here's that 7-day forecast now. So you guys can see what we're talking about with that. 40% chance of rain on that Wednesday here as we look ahead, but 60% on that Thursday, back down to 40% on that Friday, 30% on Saturday, 20% on Sunday. I know some of the models a little bit. And the forecast there, and ended up getting lucky at some of these football games in terms of at least the weather around, and hopefully that'll be the case here as we look here. Not as concerned this week, it doesn't seem, but you can see the lower rain chances there as we get toward the weekend. I know things ended up looking a little bit better at those games here. The rain coverage wasn't as much as it could have been for sure. As you can see, looking there again, 88 there for Wednesday, but cooling off some. Have more cloud cover around, some breezy conditions, especially toward the east coast. There might be some rip currents. That can be an issue here. You get a beach erosion and things like that. So just be aware there as you're looking toward the Atlantic coast beaches. You can see here, looking at those temperatures there, you see down to 63 maybe Sunday morning. Rural areas a little cooler, maybe some areas near the coast maybe a little warmer. You can see that's a little below average, which is nice to see. Some of these days a little below average. We've been above average here quite a bit lately, and that's nice to see those below average conditions here in terms of those temperatures. We like to get a little bit cooler air in there, going more like fall here, which ironically we have that cooler day to some degree. That is Saturday when that starts, so that's kind of something to bear in mind. So again, just kind of getting that into tune here. You kind of get a look at that here as we kind of look. Let me see exactly what time. I know meteorological fall is a little different, but I'm just going to kind of tell you the time that fall starts here. In terms of that exact number, I know it's kind of just interesting to touch on here that precise moment. It looks like just early in the early hours on the 23rd on Saturday. There's a lot of good college football Saturday, so maybe that'll be something to look at. There's a lot of interesting games. I mean, you could go on and on with that. Of course, we'll be watching. Hopefully, the rain from whatever that area is a hold away from that Clemson game there. That's a home game for them, of course, against my Seminoles. They're on Saturday at noon on ABC. Hopefully they'll be doing okay up there with the overall conditions. That's what it's looking like right now. We'll watch and we'll track, but the models aren't really putting that moisture in. The last check there toward that area, that game will be called there on the broadcast by Sean McDonough there, along with Greg McElroy, and the reporter will be Molly McGrath. So, again, just something to kind of touch on there. So, again, just want to kind of give you guys the information there in terms of that broadcast. If you're not going to that game, of course, there's other big games Saturday in the college football world, that college football landscape, the Alabama Ole Miss game, that Oregon-Colorado game there, not listed based on home or away, though I know that Colorado game is up in Oregon for what it's worth, but we have games, you have the game there, Ohio State, Notre Dame, you have, speaking of this big contest there, you have Iowa, Penn State as well, so just kind of doing them off the top of my head, but you kind of get the idea there, a lot of big college football games, a lot of ranked or ranked matchups, ironically, that Clemson game on Saturday, and they're not ranked, Clemson, but they could be a really, really tough team for the Seminoles there. I think they are deserving of a top 25 ranking, maybe a top 20 ranking even, because the ACC has some good teams. Duke, they lost to them. They're a really good team, I think. A quarterback, elite type of play from them so far this year. So, not getting too much into college football, but just kind of give you an idea here. Just wanted to touch on that just a little bit here. As you're looking, you see Homer Error 89 by Monday and Tuesday and next week there coming into the pictures. That's something to kind of look at there as we're watching things, as we're tracking things in the Weather Center. You just kind of have to kind of keep our eyes on that here and see a little more moisture come on in. So I just have to kind of bear that in mind here as we're watching and we're tracking things. You can kind of see that storyline. We'll have to just kind of monitor things overall as we kind of get an idea of how things do come together. I know. And that was a close game for FSU back on Saturday. Big win, by the way, for Florida against Tennessee. They got in the top 25, number 25 for the Gators. But for FSU, that game was tough against Boston College. And I know Cade Klubnik and Dabo Sweeney there are going to have a pretty well thought out plan, you would think, for that game on Saturday at Clemson. So got to be prepared for that one here as we look ahead into time. And one more on that as we look ahead. Again, just thanks so much for tuning in. I see some folks on Twitch commenting. Yep. Just thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me. Thanks so much for watching me here early on this Wednesday morning as we kind of look at things here. We'll go ahead and start to wrap things up now. But again, this is your North Florida, South Georgia forecast the next 7 days. What we're expecting here. I mean, you can kind of see the storyline. Thursday is where it really stands out. Maybe some lingering moisture Friday. But again, with some breezy conditions, maybe some clouds in there a little bit more. We'll see. So that's something to watch. Since there's a chance we could get a system out there off the east, we'll have to watch a little bit more just because, in theory, if the models were to start really picking up on something, then it could organize a little bit quicker, and then we would tell you about that. But we're not terribly concerned right now. Not terribly concerned. So that's the good news. But we'll watch it. We'll track it all for you. Here's another look at the area before we wrap it up tonight. Again, you can see the cooler air in some of our spots here, and that's good to see. But again, you saw the trends there. We'll have cool air to some degree, but then more moisture at times, a little more humidity. So that's something to bear in mind as well. We'll see you back here with another formal update late Thursday, unless we need to break back in sooner. We'll get some of those thunderstorms maybe Thursday or even later on Wednesday that become a little more robust. We have some local warnings. We'll let you know. Facebook, Twitter there, of course. And if we need to be on, we'll be on those as well as on YouTube on our Twitch with a live stream. Or maybe multiple live streams if we have more than one type of warning there. I mean, what I mean by that is we have a warning, then we get to go off for a while. Maybe we get another warning here across our area for a little portion of it. So, again, we'll just keep tracking everything for you. But for now, have a great night out there. Stay safe as you're looking at some of those rain showers there. So thunderstorms could kind of cause those roads to be a little bit wet at times. So just be safe out there as you enjoy our local weather here and those different conditions across the 62 counties.